This is the Philippines. The Philippines is an archipelago comprising about 7,641 islands. These islands are clustered into three major groups: Luzon, the Visayas, and Mindanao. Only about 2,000 islands are inhabited, and more than 5,000 are yet to be officially named. Economically, the Philippines had an average annual growth between 2000 and 2009 of 4.6%. Between 2010 and 2019, it shot up to 6.4%, and in 2023, economic growth in the country is expected to be at 5.3%, according to the IMF. This puts the Philippines as the 34th highest economy in the world at $435 billion. And yet, even with all of this economic growth, the Philippines is also a deeply corrupt nation. The Philippines ranked 116th in Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for 2022. In the Philippines, there is the form of corruption that many of its citizens are familiar with. Oligarch-and-clan corruption is present in countries with major political and economic liberalization and weak institutions. This brand of corruption is described as having a disorderly and sometimes violent scramble among contending oligarchs seeking to parlay personal resources into wealth and power. There are many other South Asian countries with a similar brand of corruption. Countries like Bangladesh, India, Malaysia, Nepal, and Sri Lanka share the same syndrome. In the Philippines, this oligarch and clan corruption primarily manifests itself in the political system. In this kind of corruption, there is difficulty in determining what is public and what is private, i.e., who is a politician and who is an entrepreneur. Oligarchs attempt to use their power for their private benefit or the benefit of their families. From the Aquinos, Binays, Dutertes, Roxases, and most notoriously, the Marcoses, the Philippines is no stranger to political families. In a 2017 chart by Todd Cabrera Lucero, he traced the lineage of Philippine presidents and noted them to be either related by affinity or consanguinity. So, in the face of this corruption that causes inequality, how does the economy continue to grow each year more and more? There are two possible answers. One controversial reason is that the corruption helps the economy. Some researchers argue that corruption may be economically justified as it provides opportunities to bypass inefficient regulations and red tape and allows the private sector to correct government failures and inefficiency. As such, it could potentially promote economic growth by removing bureaucratic barriers to entry and lowering companies' transaction costs when trying to comply with excessive regulations. This argument, however, quickly falls in the face of the Philippines, a country not known to be a highly regulated environment and is rather known for its weak institutions. The other answer is that the economy continues to grow in spite of the corruption. The sectors that contribute to the economy are varied and require international oversight and scrutiny, making local government corruption less likely. One example is remittances. When migrants send home part of their earnings in the form of either cash or goods to support their families, these transfers are known as workers or migrant remittances. In December 2022, the Philippine Statistics Authority said it tallied 1.83 million overseas Filipino workers around the world in the April to September period of 2021. What's more, in 2013, the Commission on Filipinos Overseas estimated that approximately 10.2 million people of Filipino descent lived or worked abroad. This number constitutes about 11% of the total population of the Philippines. It is one of the largest diaspora populations, spanning over 100 countries. So when it comes to remittances, in 2022, remittances to the Philippines accounted for 8.9% of the country's GDP. This is a significant contribution to the economy and it helps to support millions of Filipinos. Remittances are also a major source of foreign exchange for the Philippines, which helps to stabilize the peso and boost economic growth. Other sectors of the Philippines' diverse economy include agriculture, services, manufacturing, and tourism. This diversification helps mitigate the impact of corruption in any one sector. Certain industries, like construction, would be more prone to corruption, also transportation and storage. Many reforms have been made to curb corruption and make doing business easier in the country. The Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act is an act that aims to streamline the current systems and procedures of government services. The goal is to improve the competitiveness of and ease of doing business in the Philippines. And if the Ease of Doing Business rankings published by the World Bank are any indication, this act and more like it are much needed. The Philippines is ranked 95 out of 190 countries. These rankings are determined by sorting the aggregate scores on 10 topics. Some of these topics include ease of getting construction permits, ease of getting electricity, and most importantly, ease of starting a business. On this topic, the Philippines is ranked 171. That makes it one of the worst countries in the world to start a business. Another reform aimed at stemming corruption were the anti-corruption initiatives of the prior administration, headed by President Aquino. The administration made it clear that no stones will be left unturned. This was based on his belief that there is no poverty if there is no corruption. While both he and the current president, Bongbong Marcos, are more politicians in line with the history of political families in the country, one can only hope that the tide is turning and that the Filipino people will remain resilient in the face of insurmountable odds.